Welcome everybody. I'm Libby Bradshaw, for those that don't know me. You'll see on your screen already we have the title of tonight's talk. I'm very pleased to say that Tim Lewis, who is chairman of our North and East London branch and also leader of London WRG, has very kindly said that he will give this presentation. And the reason we called it as we did is that some of the, as you will discover, some of canal restoration involves finding what you're trying to restore before you can do anything, and also trying to access it, which is not always easy. But I'll leave that to Tim to explain all of that to you, and I hope you enjoy the presentation. And over to you, Tim. Thank you.
Good evening. As Libby said, my name's Tim Lewis. I wear various hats, but my favourite one is one of the organisers with the London branch of the Waterway Recovery Group. I've been doing this for the best part of 40 years now, so I like to think I know a bit about it. But what I want to do tonight is go through a few things about what we get up to, where we go, what we do, and how we enjoy ourselves. Why we do it? We want to see canals restored. It's a very social, and plus it's also a very social activity. What we do, we'll come on to in a minute. We do various things. Where we work, London WRG, we tend to work in the south, from Midlands down to the southwest. We go about as far as Grantham and as far west as Stroud, but we occasionally go a bit further. And before this year, we do it all through the year, but obviously we haven't done an awful lot since March, which is a real shame. But we're all in that boat. As Libby mentioned, the first thing we often have to do is actually find the canal. This is a typical before picture. This one's taken on the Shrewsbury-Newport Canal. That's the one end of Berwick Tunnel. We went in one weekend, and literally we were trying to find the canal, create a walkway up to the tunnel. And this is another typical one on the Uttoxeter Canal at Alton. You can see this. You can just about work out where the canal was. This is quite an interesting place. Right up on the hill on the left is Alton Towers, and so we work. So at normal times we have we're working to the screams of people going around roller coasters as we're working on the canal. This is another one, another one on the Uttoxeter Canal to Jackson's Wood. This one's actually trying to find a lock. As you can see, you can just about see a depression in the ground where the lock was, but there's some serious trees growing out of it. This was a winter camp we did a few years ago. We have various methods of clearing the canal. We have a dedicated chainsaw team who come and do the heavy work. Then we have a myriad of people come along with bow saws and whatever to do the rest of the clearing. Well, another very useful tool is what Roy is demonstrating here. It's what's called a turfer winch, which is a way of converting mechanical action into a very strong pull to pulling mainly tree stumps out or logs across the canal. You do need a stump behind you to anchor the winch to, but when you don't, you have to go back to the manual method. And believe it or not, that one winch that Roy was operating was probably doing a stronger force than all those people added together. Occasionally we go along with, all we'd have to do is take out a few weeds and expose the edge of the canal. This is, again, we're back on the Shrewsbury-Newport Canal at Berwick Wharf. This is quite an interesting place. The wharf is actually owned by the National Trust. We're the first party in there on National Trust land, and I think they sent their archaeologists and all their supervisors along, and I like to think we did a very good job, and I think the National Trust were very happy to have us and to have us back. This is another, sometimes we have to work off boats. This is working on the Stroud Water Canal. This is the section that's just had the lottery grant to complete the restoration from Stroud down to the Gloucester and Sharpness Canal. This is just working by the A38, where they're currently rebuilding the canal for a roundabout. And once we've found the canal, we've done a bit of scrub bashing. Tends to, you know, hopefully at the end of the weekend or when at the end of the period, it will look more like a canal. This is quite an interesting project we did at the Iron Bridge Gorge Museum on the tugboat. It's a very, very, very nice, clean museum, except they had neglected their canal slightly. So we one weekend we went in with 35, 40 of us, and we cleared a good stretch of their canal. So it looks like a canal again now. And we'll come on to this one a bit later on. It's another scrub bash down on the Thames and Medway Canal. It's probably our most local canal. We don't go there very often because there's only so much work to do. But we've over the last couple of years we've assisted the Canal Society to clear the bed, clear the remaining of the bed of the canal. This is just outside Gravesend, heading towards Hyam. And this is another successful job on the Hereford and Gloucester Canal. That place called Yarkhill. I don't think we'll be boating on this one for many years, but unless we do go in and do maintenance on these canals, they'll disappear completely. And one of the main reasons we do scrub bashing is to have bonfires. So at the end of the weekend, we can all huddle around the bonfire with our toasting forks. Once we've found the canal, we have to find our way into it, and this is sometimes easier than others. We have recently started a project on the Way and Arun Canal, which involved several hundred meters of access to it, and so we laid down some temporary trackway. We'll come down a bit later on. We'll come to the reason why. Other places, it's just a matter of filling in ditches. This is Icy Lock on the Thames and Severn, which again we'll come back to in a minute. We just had to culvert a stream to create an access onto site. And other places, and once we've cleared the canal, we need to rebuild the bed. This is us on the Buckingham Arm, just up by Cosgrove Lock on the Grand Union Canal. And what we're doing here is using the excavator to dig away all the growth so that this section of canal can be rewatered. And we'll come on a bit later on. We'll come on to how we're rewatering it. This is another interesting project we did back on the Shrewsbury Newport Canal at Forton. The canal goes over an aqueduct, and it leaked. So what we're doing here, we're putting what's called bentonite matting down, which is a way of waterproofing the canal. Once we've laid the matting down, we cover it back up in earth, and once the water hits the bentonite, it creates a glutinous waterproof layer. I said we go back to the Iron Bridge Gorge Museum. As you say, a year or two back, we cleared the canal, and the intention is that the museum will reopen it. But they've got similar problems at Forton. The canal leaks, so we spent a weekend here doing investigation works. We created a couple of dams, and we did pumped out the water, cleared the canal. Then we did some investigation holes so that the engineers could work out how to rewater the canal. So slightly different work, but it's interesting to see exactly what you have to do to design what to do for restoration. And there's someone having a bit too much fun clearing out a canal of weeds. This is back on the Stroudwater. This is not quite a channel relining. This is a job we did quite a few years ago now on the Montgomery Canal. As part of the permission to do the restoration, we had to create a wetlands alongside the canal. And you see we've excavated out here, and we've put down the waterproof lining, and it's filling here. This has now been established for quite a few years, and you wouldn't know that it was a new construction. It's just completely gone back to nature as it was intended to. But this, what we really like doing is getting to the nitty gritty of restoring locks. So what I've done, put together here is a series of pictures of a lock we restored. We assisted in the restoration of 10 years ago now. Icy Lock on the Thames Canal, which is just outside Swindon. And this was a useful one because we actually worked on this lock from right from the beginning right through to it being completed. When we first found the lock, as you say, it's very derelict. It didn't look too bad, but when you actually tapped the walls, they were completely hollow, and realised that basically the whole lock had to be demolished from waterline upwards and rebuilt. So one of the first things to do is take off the old coping stones, and the idea is we rebuild the wing walls at the bottom and top so that we can put dams in and make the site watertight. So this is the dam at the bottom end. And as you can see on the top forebay, a rather large tree had established itself. We had to winch that out again using the ubiquitous turf winches. But as you say, when we took the stump out, it created quite a bit more damage to the sill. So which you can see here, we're also taking out all the old rotten brickwork from the gate recesses. This is a rare picture of me operating an excavator. Again, we're back at the bottom wing walls now, removing the coping stones and the rotten brickwork, so that we can rebuild the bottom wing wall. It's a picture in slightly better weather. And what we've done now, we've demolished the top wing walls, and we're starting to rebuild them. And we're also back down at the bottom. We've rebuilt the bottom wing walls, and we're putting the coping stones back. It's very inaccessible here, so it all had to be done by hand. Those coping stones weigh a lot. They're very heavy. And once we built the bottom wing walls, we incorporated stop plank grooves, so we can install the stop banks, which enabled us to create a dry lock for working it, so the lock can be pumped out and work done in the dry. So we started demolishing the walls. As you can see, we only had to tap the walls and they started demolishing. So the idea was we'd take all the brickwork down, take all the soft bricks out and all the rotten bricks, then cut back to the good brick. So what we're doing here, we've taken all the rotten bricks out. We're back to the good brick, and we're rebuilding the front face. Where the brickwork has been underwater, the water tends to protect it. So we're only rebuilding from the water level upwards because the brickwork below was still fairly good. It's interesting, when we did demolish the old walls, we found some of the original timber ties that tied the brickwork back into the earth. And you can see where we took that tree out, it created a lot of damage, so we rebuilt the top forebay and the top sill with reinforced concrete. And here's us. We have a number of people in the group who are pretty good at bricklayers, and they're also good at training people to bricklay. Most people can be trained fairly quickly to lay to a line. It's the curved bricks that are the complicated bits. A rare picture of me laying bricks. I can lay bricks, but I'm very slow, so I'm more useful on the manual side. Again, what we're doing here, we're taking out the one of the bottom, where we've discovered one of the bottom walls isn't too great. We're demolishing it, and you can see to the left they're also taking out brickwork from the gate recess. And here we are rebuilding it. Obviously, the weather had got slightly worse there. I don't think it's protect from the sun. And here we are in the same place, putting the coping stones back on the on the main wall. This is the coping stones have been put back. They're never the same shape, so it's very much a jigsaw putting these things back together. And this is a picture of the lock as we left it. It's being on the western end of the eastern end of the Thames and Severn. It's not going to be this isn't going to go back into water for a long time yet, so we don't put gates in at this stage. But we did finish it. It's been well finished. We've worked on locks on many other waterways and with differing construction methods. This is quite an interesting work we did on the River Gipping, where a spring under the lock had actually forced the bottom of the lock up. So what we're doing here is rebuilding the bottom of the lock with and putting in pipe work and sumps to take the pressure of the waterway in future. This is another lock we did on the Wilson Berks at 7 locks at Lynham. So this is a slightly different method here because obviously the lock was a lot more rotten than it was at Icy. So we've taken it right down and we've built a wall behind and then we filled the wall, the space between the two walls with concrete. And this is yet another method. Again, this is Summit Lock on the Wilson Berks Canal. So instead of a block wall behind, we've just put up steel shuttering. So we build the front wall, then fill the gap between the two with concrete. This is another one. This is a lock at Grantham. This is lock 14, and you can see this one's actually owned by British Waterways. So we've gone right back to basics. We've taken the wall down and the big space behind the wall, and it's a complete rebuild of the walls. This has taken a couple of years later. You can see the front walls have been rebuilt, and we've used that same method as the one at Summit Lock. We put steel shuttering up behind it and filled the gap between the shuttering and the wall with concrete. This lock is now finished. It's got gates in, and it looks quite marvellous. You'll probably seen it in some of the magazines in the last few months. So that's lock 14 at Grantham. This is another of our favourite sites. This is Inglesham Lock on the Thames and Severn, where the Thames and Severn Canal meets the River Thames. You've got one of the characteristic roundhouses there. So again, it's very similar to other locks. We're having to completely rebuild the walls. But what we're doing here, we've taken the brickwork down. But on this one, the brickwork went a long way back. So we're rebuilding the front wall and putting brickwork behind it as well. So there's no concrete. There's no concrete involved here. It's just solid brick. Or we use some concrete blocks as well. But it's solid masonry rather than concrete. Here's taken a bit later. We finished the walls, put the coping stones back, and we're just doing the final clearance. And that's what it looks like today. Just awaiting gates and boats and a bit of land ownership to be sorted out. So hopefully in a couple of years' time, we might be able to go through this lock into moorings above. There's another place we've been working a lot the last few years is the Stroud Water navigation from around in the Stroud Valley. We've basically been working from Stroud up to Brimscombe. We've worked on about 5 locks. They've all been restored now. And as I mentioned before, they've now got the lottery grant to complete the canal right down through to Saul Junction, through the crossing under the railway and the motorway. But like I said, we've worked on about 5 locks here, and it's very satisfying to work on a lock and see it right through to completion. Again, this is another one that it's taken a couple of years ago on the Stroud Rod again. So I forget which lock this is, but you can see the typical thing. We're rebuilding the wing walls and the gate recess and the stop plank grooves before we can actually rebuild the lock walls. Still got lots of locks to do. This is as we walk up the canal, up the valley from Brimscombe on the Thames Severn Canal. There's a place called the Golden Valley, and there's about a dozen of these to do. So I think this will see me out to for lock restoration for the next few years. There's another place we've worked in the past as well. It's the one of the old stone locks on the Somerset Coal Canal at Coombe Hay. Coombe Hay is the most fascinating place to go to. It's not all open to the public, but you can certainly walk around part of it. It's just. We've also worked on a few new locks. This is a lock on the Chesterfield Canal at Staveley, where they got contractors in to do the base and some of the more concrete works, but then the volunteers came in and rebuilt this lock. We went. It's a long way for us to go, so we've only had a couple of trips up there. But that concrete structure at the top is actually what was due to be the roadway across the top of the lock. And went there a few years later. You can see that road there, and we're just finishing the some of the work around by the gates. Looks. As well as locks, we have to build spillways and bywashes. This is an interesting project on the North Walsham-Dilham Canal. Again, it's a very long way for us to go. We've only been there once, but the weekend we did go, we spent driving these piles in to create a spillway. I can't remember the name of the place, but it's in deepest Norfolk. It's near Durham Way, so. And this is another long distance trip for us. We on the Mon and Brett Canal on the branch I can't think of the name of, which is alongside the M4. And what we're doing here is rebuilding the bywash. So once the bywash is rebuilt, we can divert the water around it and restore the main lock. We worked on a few bridges as well. I mean, the bridges can vary what needs doing. This is Forton on the Shrewsbury-Newport Canal. And as you can see, the bridge is in pretty good condition. It's still reused as a road. And all it needed really was a bit of pointing. Some of the coping stones had to come off and be rebuilt. But, you know, a couple of weekends work, and it really started to look like a bridge. Other places we go to aren't so similar. This is this is a bridge on the Wilson Berks Canal. And you can see we went there one weekend and basically we had to find it. So we had to do a scrub brush around it. We had to excavate around trying to find the old foundations. A couple of years later, we were going back, rebuilding the brick arch on the old foundations. Some quite clever force work and brickwork going on there. Went back a year or two later, and last thing we'll do is laying the coping stones on it, and that's what it looks like today. So we've gone from a nothing bridge to a complete bridge. It must admit, this one did take a couple of years to do, but it's well worth it. Another interesting bridge job we did over the last few years. This is down on the Way and Arun Canal. That's next. It's what's called Compasses Bridge. It's the land is on Dunsford Aerodrome. It's more famously known as the Top Gear test track. But when in the war, when the main road was built through the airfield to create access to the airfield, they filled in the canal and just put on an embankment. So the idea is to build a new bridge here, but still maintain the access into the airfield. Because of it's still a busy road. They got contractors in to do the actual bridge deck. And here's the bridge deck just being built. Then the volunteers came in. We did all the wing walls and all the landscaping. This is you can just see the canal going through the middle there, and we're building the blockwork cells to create the wing walls. And that's what it looks like today. You can see it's a much better scene to what it was. when the older embankment was there. The Way and Arun have a habit of giving us little bridge projects to do. After we finished Compass's Bridge, the Canal Society bought or leased a new section of canal, or new to them section of canal at a place called Birtley near Bramley. And we went there one weekend. We were told there's going to be a bridge here one day. And we thought, oh yes. And I remember a while ago, I showed a picture of an access track being built. Well, that access track was being put in to get to this and one other site. So a year or so later, we went back. It's had a few canal camps and a lot of intensive work on it. So we're helping to build the walls and backfilling, and that's what it looks like today. It's going to be a lift bridge, but there's no they won't be putting the deck and the structure in for a while yet. And there's another crossing to build before we can do that. But so we've gone from nothing to a bridge in a quite remarkably short length of time. There's another bridge we've been working on until very recently. This is Bridge 1 on the Buckingham Arm. This is replacing a crossing being built infield across the canal. You can see just past that fencing. So the idea is to rebuild this bridge, divert the crossing onto the bridge, then the canal can be rewatered, including the section I showed you earlier on where the excavator was clearing the canal bed. The original idea was you can just see the bridge arch behind the excavator there. The original idea was to build a new arch bridge, but when they looked at the loadings required for modern day farm machinery, it was decided that couldn't be designed. So there's the arch again there. So we went in one weekend and built 2 new abutments for a new flat deck bridge. And only very recently we've been back there. This was our first post-lockdown dig. As you can see, we had to go with how shall I say this? We were very coronavirus aware. This is the morning site briefing. Everybody socially distanced, and we went to site. And this is the bridge as it is today. We've had quite a few digs on this bridge now. You can see the remains of the arch below the bridge, but it's had a new flat deck built on top. And so we've done a lot of work here, including this is only 3 weekends ago, helping to rebuilding the walls so that the track can be diverted over the bridge and the old causeway taken away. Since we took these pictures, they've actually taken away the crossing and the sheet piles across the canal. We've also helped a couple of slipways over the years. This is a new one that was built on the Way and Arun Canal, just up from Compass's Bridge, which we saw earlier on. So this is the route down to the slipway, which is dug out by one of our work members. And this is us helping build the walls of the slipway. The canal is behind that ladder beam. So we're putting in the new reinforced concrete walls so the slipway can be put in. A lot of slipways now are put into a design that was developed by the IWA many years ago, which we know to work because it was designed by a very enthusiastic trail boater. And this is a bit later on. The walls have been completed, the slipway's in, and Martin there is just finishing some of the last of the brickwork. And we had the pleasure of launching the first boat in. So this is probably the first boat that's been slipped into the Way and Arun for many years. We also have to do a lot of towpath reconstruction. Again, as with the canal bed, is often first of all, find your towpath. This is going back. This is back at the Uttoxeter Canal next to Alton Towers. we've found a bed, we've found a towpath, and we're creating a path. So at the moment there is a walkway along an old railway, which is right here, but the aim is to divert the walkway onto the towpath away from the old railway track. There's a bit of work we've done to a live canal. We're doing a bit of footpath work at Paper Mill Lock on the Chelmer and Blackwater Canal. I don't know if you know, many of you know Paper Mill is where the tea rooms are. It gets very, very popular there. But it does flood a bit, and it keeps on washing away the towpath. So I think this is the second time we've rebuilt this bit of towpath and fencing. Here we are up on the Lichfield Canal, up near the M6. Again, we've taken an overgrown ditch and found a canal. And now we're creating the footpath. Again, we've cleared it and we're putting laying down edgings, then putting stone down and compacting it. So now this is now a very popular walkway for local people. I'll put this in as a bit of an odd one. We don't restore tunnels. We're not that technical. But this is a tunnel mouth we've worked at on the again on Shrewsbury Newport Canal on Berwick Tunnel. We've done a lot of work here over the last couple of years doing towpath clearance, and the building on the right there is an old Lanksman's house, which we've also helped restore over the last couple of years. I'm not sure when we'll be able to boat through there, but it's an interesting site. We've also worked on a few buildings over the years. One is very local to us in London. This is the London Canal Museum, which many of you will know contains 2 ice wells, which were filled in over the years with rubble. A lot of it was from bomb rubble during the Second World War. And back in the early 90s, Waterway, London WRG and Waterway Recovery went in there, and we excavated one of the ice wells down by quite a few feet over 2 or 3 digs. It's a very interesting dig. So it's not very often you actually stay in the same building you're working in, and that's a view looking from one of the ice wells up to the up into the London Canal Museum. This is some other buildings we've worked on. This is a very impromptu dig we had year before last. We worked on the Draycott cottages on the Derby Canal. I'm not quite sure how it's acquired, but the Canal Trust has acquired these cottages, and they're now being converted into an exhibition centre, and some of it's going to be let out as a money raising thing. So, we spent a good weekend. A lot of our bricklayers were helping do adjustments to doors and windows, and we also worked on some drainage outside as well. This is very much, as I said before, this is very much a last minute. We were supposed to be working somewhere else, but the site fell through. But luckily, the Derby Canal put us up at very short notice. We also work quite a bit on working waterways. These are either ones that have always been working, or ones that we've helped restore over the years. One of our favourites, because we like it, and B, because it's fairly local. We do a lot of work on the Chelmer and Blackwater navigation, which, you know, as many of you know, is actually managed by the IWA. And this is us working at, and one of the ways they raise money is to improve the quality of the moorings at the various sites they've got. This is working at Heybridge Basin. Again, anyone's not been there, well worth a visit, because it's where the Icy Lock is, takes the Chelmer and Blackwater out onto the estuary. And what we're doing here is we're helping to improve the moorings. We've done much work here over the years, putting services in, putting paths in, doing bank protection. This is one interesting task I did a year or two back, is putting up canoe stores well, canoe storage racks at Paper Mill Lock. And as I mentioned, we've done bank protection here as well. This is back at Haybridge, so where the bank had fallen in. So we couldn't moor there, so we've rebuilt the bank. So, and it's which has allowed the Waterway to create more moorings and get more income. Another canal we've been to, we haven't been to for a couple of years now, is the Basingstoke Canal. I mean, when I first started digging, nearly all our digs were on the either on the Way Down or the Basingstoke Canal, and it was very nice to see it eventually restored. But with all canals, they need maintenance. This is us going back quite a few to Deep Cut, quite a few years after the canal had reopened. We're helping to improve. The canal hasn't got very good lock landings, so they're slowly improving the lock landings. And this is us building one. We've put the sheet piling in, and now we're backfilling behind it. We also help with the maintenance of the again, this is the locks themselves. This is another. I think this is lock 25 at Deep Cut, and Martin's helping rebuild the quadrants. Another live waterway we go to very regularly is the Birmingham Canal Navigations. One weekend a year we organise a big clean-up where there's about 100, well, anything up to 100 people traipse along the canal with grappling hooks, pulling out as much rubbish as they can. This is us pulling out. Looks like a bit of Harris fencing. This is a typical shopping trolley lock. I think the record we've had out of one lock is 16 shopping trolleys. I think on one weekend at the Asda pound on the Walsall Canal, we pulled out 50 shopping trolleys in one lock pound. There is a big Asda next door, which is probably the reason why. This is the kind of rubbish we pull out from the BCN. And you think you might think this is a posed picture. This is a very typical picture of what we do over the weekend. Some weekends we can fill a boat like that 10 times over with that kind of rubbish, and putting out anything up to about 40 tons of rubbish out. This is I think this is on the Perry Bar flight. We've had interesting use of plant over the years. When I first started digging, we had some very ropey very interesting old excavators and dumpers that are more death traps than anything else. Over the years, we've realised that rather than trying to maintain ropey old plant, you're better off, if you're going to have a dig or a weekend or a week dig, hire good plant in. Or a lot of canal societies, they've realised that you're better off spending a lot of money buying decent plant than trying to maintain old stuff. We have a very we have a good policy of renewing our plant as often as possible. We have a small fleet of vans that are used for the canal camps during the summer, and the regional camps use them. The regional groups use them outside the canal camp season. We have a number of trailers that are fully stocked with tools and catering equipment. So when we go along for a camp, we're pretty well self-contained. We like to have a social side as well. Just to finish off with a few pictures of us enjoying ourselves. One of the reasons a lot of people go on digs, they like the work, they like to see canals restored, but we're a very, very, very sociable bunch, and it's the reason a lot of people do come along. There's a very good camaraderie, and we work hard, and we like to enjoy ourselves in the evening as well. This is a pub on the BCN. As I said before, we have we have a good collection of tools and catering equipment. It all needs maintenance. So even in London WRG, we have every couple of years we have a weekend where we maintain our tools. This is done in a boatyard up on the River Lee, which we've got space. We can borrow space at. We do fundraising. This is a fudge selling team at Canal Cavalcade. We have a magazine called Navies, which we have to put together every couple of months. So we borrow the London Canal Museum. So John on the right has a little printing press in his shed. He prints Navies, and so then he brings all the contents along. We put it together and post it. And some of us even marry each other. We've had quite a few WRG weddings over the years. But anyway, that's you know, I think just up to 45 minutes, but this is that's a brief introduction of what WRG do, and in particular London WRG. And this is and thank you very much for watching. And if anyone's got any questions, please ask in the Q&A. I think I'll hand back to Libby now.
Thank you very much, Tim. I'm sure there's people that have been watching that hadn't realised the scope of what London WRG gets up to in terms of the variety of tasks and so forth. We have got a few questions, but not very many so far. So please go on bringing them in. So I'll start with one from Simon Judge. And he says, this is apart from COVID, so forget COVID for a minute.
Yeah.
What's the project you would most like to work on, but where this is currently not possible for whatever reason?
We have a few regulars. We work on the Cotswold canals, the Way and Arun, and the Chelmer and Blackwater. They're probably our three favourite, because the local organisers are very, very organised. When we turn up, everything's there, and the work's good. And well, the Way and Arun, I don't know where they get their money from, or how. Well, I do because I'm a member, but they just keep on coming up with the most amazing projects. So what we like to do, we like to go to a project and see it through. When I first started digging many years ago, we would go along for a weekend, go do some work, and go back a year later, and nothing had happened. But the projects these days on the Way and Arun, on the and on the Cotswolds canals, we really see good progress. And with the lottery grant that the Cotswold canals are going, we've got a lock and an aqueduct to rebuild, and that's going to see us out for probably the next 18 months, which is going to be great. We'll see that through from the beginning right through to the end.
Thank you. Peter Holmes asks, do you have any problems getting planning permission for projects?
Well, we're a mobile group. We don't, so we tend to work for canal societies which do all the work ahead of us arriving. So when we arrive on site, hopefully all the permissions are in place, all the materials there. But there's a lot of people. We do have people in WRG who work with the canal societies in the background getting the planning permission. You might have read that the Cromford Canal they've just got planning permission to do their next extension. But as you said, as a rule, we rely on the local societies to get the permissions before we turn up.
Right. Now this is one of your North and East London members, Ian Israel. He says, over the years, how many bodies have been sunk into the concrete?
I ain't telling you nothing, Gov. There's a few people we'd like to put in the concrete. But I think we'd probably get a bit too much trouble. There's a few people. There is a list of people we would willingly have put in, but I think we will deny all knowledge.
I guess it had to be asked, didn't it? Really? Yeah. Kit Smith asks, what's the relationship like with CNRT?
Well, we don't. Most of the canals we work on aren't CRT owned. The one big one we worked on the last few years is the grant from Canal, but it's a bit of a long distance one from us. So again, the local canal societies tend to do the get the permissions in place. But over the last 2 years, CRT have been very, very good. It's not like many years ago when we couldn't even get permission to work on our waterways. But a lot of the canals we work on aren't owned by CRT. The Way and Arun, the Stroud Water, the Chelmer and Blackwater, they're all owned by either local authorities or the canal companies. But CRT, where we have worked with CRT, they tend to be generally they are very good.
Excellent. When I sent the notification out about this, I said Tim will draw on various projects over the years, and hopefully this will encourage us either to join in or otherwise support the work. And here we are with David Roy saying, I'm in Edinburgh, but I have a motorhome. Where's the most northerly section of the Waterways Recovery Group?
I'm trying to think. It's almost a long way from London as well. There certainly has been work on the Lancaster. I'm not sure how much, but being a CRT waterway, I'm not sure how much voluntary work is going on there. And apart from that, I think you've got to go quite a long way. There's probably down to the Chesterfield or the Manchester, Bolton and Bury, or the Grantham, which is a very long way from Edinburgh. I'm afraid that's as much as I can. But
in fact, Tim, it doesn't matter where anyone is in the country. I mean, you've got members of London WRG that live all over the place now.
But I mean, Edinburgh is a long way from it.
No,
you probably have to go to the Lancaster or the, as you say, the Chesterfield, because most of the northern canals, across the Pennine ones, have been restored now.
So perhaps if David went onto the website, the IWA website, he would find.
I'll go to the IWA website. There should be.
Yeah. David, if you've got a subsidiary question, do come back to us.
Yeah.
Simon again. Many of your projects are building things that need to last for a long time and are safety critical. How do your partners get assurance that you're doing the job to a good standard?
Well, again, the local canal societies tend to design, but when we go somewhere, when we're building something, we know it's good. As you can see, a lot of the locks we restore and we're rebuilding in stonework and brickwork, but with concrete behind. So I can't think of any. I've been anywhere where I've said this isn't being built well. It's not going to last. We do tend to build very solidly, and to be honest, engineering standards do tend to be good. And we rarely build. We never build to a lesser standard. We always build to the same thicknesses and probably better materials than they were built in the first place.
You've got quite a range of skills in your members, haven't you? I mean, this is one of the questions that have come in. I'm asking it myself. But I believe you've got skills that cover just about anything that might be needed. Well, do
you want to read out the last question?
Yes, I'll do that one first. Do WRG volunteers do training together between digs?
Yes.
In trades and specialisms, or does it all happen on real?
No, we do both. We actually say a lot of our people do learn on digs. We have some very skilled people, in construction and in plant operation. We run a plant driver authorization scheme where you don't drive any plant on our sites unless you've been trained by one of our instructors and passed by one of our instructors. But we also run training weekends where you can turn up for a weekend and learn maybe 5 or 6 different, work on 5 or 6 different activities: bricklaying, scaffolding, heritage stonework. And so no, it's both. It's on the job, and we do run the occasional training weekends as well.
Right. Well, there's plenty of time for more questions if anyone's got any.
But I would say, I mean, you can see some of our pictures. We run from people on our site. Run not many 17-year-olds these days, but it used to be 17. We used to say 17 to 70, but we've had people older than 70 digging with us and still digging with us. Because we're such a nice bunch, we all mix. It doesn't matter if you'll get 20-year-olds working with 70-year-olds, and they work off each other. You can learn skills. You'll meet a lot of new people, make a lot of friends, and hopefully when this COVID madness is all over, we'll get back to doing this. But at the moment, it's very difficult. As a group going away at the weekend, we are struggling at weekends now, because although when we get to site we can organise the sites well, they're not covered under a lot of the regulations. They're covered under Health and Safety Act rather than the COVID regulations. But once we're off site, we have to. We have problems with transport and accommodation at the moment. So all our digs at the moment are like 1 day digs or not digs at all. But hopefully we'll. In normal times, we'll take away 20 people for a weekend, and they'll all get on. I can only encourage people to come along.
There's a message here saying, "Don't forget the cooks."
Oh yeah, you can't forget the cooks. When I first started digging, we took it in time. We always took it in turns to do the catering, and to say we had some interesting meals, it was be an understatement. But we seem to have acquired a team of people who just like coming along just to do the catering, and I have no problems with that at all, because we tend to eat better. I tend to eat better on digs now than I do at home. Well, that's not saying a lot, but no, we have some wonderful people who just love to cater for us, and catering for 20 people for a weekend is not easy.
No. So what sort of I mean, sometimes people say, "Oh, I don't think I'm fit enough," or "I don't think I could go and help with a dig." Are the sort of roles that people can? We will
always find work for everybody, unless and we don't expect you to work as hard as we don't expect a 70-year-old to work as hard as a 20-year-old. But we don't criticise people for working slowly. We'll find you a job that will suit your talents and suit your fitness.
Yeah, I think that's really important, because I think quite a few people think, "Oh, you've got to be fit to go and do all these sorts of things."
I mean, you've got to have a degree of fitness, obviously, but we have everybody on, and we will find you a job that will suit your talents and fitness.
Although this isn't a question on here, a number of people have asked me what happens with family camps.
I don't actually get involved in organising that, but it's something that WRG have organised the last couple of years. It's they'll have a weekend where people can go either take their children or grandchildren. They have nice accommodation, and they do some interesting work. But I must admit, it's not something I've worked. Not having children, it's not something I've actually worked on. But the pictures I've seen, people do seem to have a very thoroughly good time. And
is that all ages of children?
No, it tends to be the younger. I don't know, to be honest.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. From what I've seen, it tends to be, yes, I think you get up to about 14.
Right. We have another question in. Andy Clark. Oh, hello, Andy. I have an arrangement with my Stroud-based brother-in-law to meet at one end of the Sapperton portals when the Thames Reconnection is finally made. What's your estimate of when it will happen?
I don't know. It's I don't think I'll be voting it in my time. But we said this in the 1990s about the Huddersfield and the Rochdale canals. These are long-term projects. We're never going to see them open, and all of a sudden, tens and tens of millions of pounds appeared from the likes of the lottery and that. And in 5 years, we had two canals reopened, and hopefully something like that might happen on the Thames and Severn. There's talk of these water transfer schemes at one time, where they'll rebuild the canal to transfer water. That might happen, but at the moment, I'm not sure when you like to see boats going through Sapperton. I would say to Andy, there's a good pub. There's a good pub at either end of the canal, the tunnel. So
I'm sure that will suit Andy. Right. Well, we're out of questions unless anyone wants to come up with anything else. I think now. Oh, of course, somebody immediately does so.
Yeah.
Let me see what that one is.
It's Andy again.
Oh, that's Andy. Andy. Much appreciated by the Suffolk contingent of SPCC and SPCC IWA. Yeah. And there's lots of thank yous on the chat. So So I would just like to add to that, Tim. I found that really interesting. I know I've known you for years on end, and I've known that you've gone off and done these various digs, but it's really nice to see it put together in the way you've done it this evening, so you can actually see projects from start to finish, and you can see the range of different projects that you do. So I'd like to thank you very much for coming and doing that talk. And yet again, yes, there's another message coming up. Thank you. That was very interesting. Lots of people coming up with that. Our next IWA region webinar will be on the 23rd of November. I'm just trying to get confirmation, but it will be related to the tidal Thames. What we're trying to do is get a number of different bits of waterway and areas of interest in around London, or people who are based in London, and as Tim does, go off and dig canals elsewhere. So I will, as soon as I know exactly what that will be, I will get something sent out. And that just leaves me to say thank you again to Tim. Thank you all for coming, and I hope you've enjoyed the evening as much as I have. Thank you. Good night.